In the quaint town of Willow Creek, life moved slowly, like the gentle stream that wound its way through the village. Cobblestone streets echoed with the laughter of children, and merchants displayed their goods with pride. Among them was Liam, a young, kind-hearted man who ran the town's only bookstore, a small, cozy shop that smelled of aged paper and vanilla-scented candles. Liam had inherited the store from his father, who had always told him, "Kindness is the wealth that lasts longer than gold." Liam was well liked, not because he was rich, but because he treated everyone with respect. When an elderly woman struggled with her basket, he offered to carry it. When children peeked into his shop, curious about the stories, he gave them small, illustrated books for free. He lived a simple life, yet it was a life full of purpose and warmth. Across the street, however, was Derek, a wealthy and arrogant merchant. Derek owned a large general store, filled with the latest goods and shiny trinkets, yet his heart was as cold as the polished marble floors of his establishment. He believed success meant dominating others, and anyone modest or kind was, in his eyes, weak. He often sneered at Liam's little bookstore, mocking it in front of customers. "Why waste time selling books when you could be selling gold, boy?" One bright morning, as Liam opened his shop, he noticed a small, trembling puppy shivering by the doorway. Its fur was matted, and its eyes reflected both fear and trust. Liam's heart softened immediately. "Hey there, little one," he murmured, kneeling. "Don't worry, you're safe now." He wrapped the puppy in a soft cloth, giving it some leftover bread and a bowl of water. That day, he named the puppy Biscuit, and it quickly became his loyal companion, following him around the shop and resting under the counter. Word of Liam's compassion spread through Willow Creek. People began coming not just for books but for the warmth that Liam radiated. Derek, however, noticed this growing admiration and felt a sharp sting of jealousy. The town's love for Liam, despite his modest means, was unbearable to him. One afternoon, Derek approached Liam with an outwardly friendly smile. "Liam, my boy, I have a lucrative business proposal for you," he said smoothly. Liam, ever trusting and hopeful, raised an eyebrow. "Oh? What kind of proposal?" Derek's plan was meticulous. He presented Liam with documents, claiming they were a partnership agreement that would help Liam expand his bookstore. Excited at the thought of improving his humble shop, Liam signed them without hesitation. What he didn't know was that the documents were forged, designed to strip him of ownership entirely. A week later, Derek barged into the bookstore, his expression smug. "Surprised to see me here?" he sneered. Liam's heart sank as Derek revealed the truth. Liam no longer owned the shop. All the years of effort, love, and hard work were now legally Derek's. How could you do this?" Liam stammered, disbelief and betrayal flooding his voice. "Business is about survival," Derek replied coldly. "Some win, some lose. You were naive to trust me." Liam felt a storm of emotions: anger, sadness, disbelief, but above all, a strange clarity. He could either retaliate recklessly, becoming a mirror of Derek's cruelty, or he could find a smarter way to restore justice. He looked down at Biscuit, who nudged his hand with concern. "Don't worry, little one," he whispered, "we'll find a way." The townspeople were shocked. Many had admired Liam and pitied him for his loss. They offered help, advice, and sympathy, but Derek's wealth and influence made it impossible for anyone to challenge him openly. Liam spent sleepless nights poring over every detail of Derek's business, learning his routines, weaknesses, and the secrets he thought hidden. Days turned into weeks, and Liam quietly rebuilt his life. He found a small rented space and started selling books once more, relying on his reputation for honesty and kindness. But he never forgot Derek's betrayal. Deep inside, he vowed, "One day, justice will come, and it will not be blind or cruel, it will be smart, patient, and precise." Liam's time and reflection also taught him an invaluable lesson: revenge fueled by anger often destroys the seeker. If he acted out of hatred, he would lose not just his morality but the respect of the people who believed in him. Instead, he decided to turn Derek's cruelty into a lesson, not just for himself, but for everyone who would witness the consequences of greed. Night after night, Liam stayed up writing plans, documenting Derek's schemes, and thinking of ways to restore balance without lowering himself to Derek's level. Biscuit, ever loyal, lay beside him, sensing the shift in Liam's spirit. The puppy became not just a companion but a reminder that kindness could be a shield as strong as any sword. As the moonlight filtered through the bookstore's window, casting a silver glow on the stacks of books and papers, Liam whispered to himself, "Patience, integrity, and wisdom, that is how the scales will balance." One day, Derek will learn that betrayal may win the moment, but truth always wins the story. And so, in the quiet of Willow Creek, a seed was planted, not of hatred, but of clever justice, patience, and the unwavering belief that right, even when delayed, always prevails. The first chapter of Liam's journey had begun, and neither Derek's cunning nor his wealth would be able to stop the tide of fate that was slowly turning in favor of the humble bookstore owner. Once passed in Willow Creek, and life went on, but for Liam, nothing would ever be the same. His bookstore, though rebuilt in a modest rented space, became a symbol of perseverance and integrity. He worked tirelessly, not out of desperation, but out of a quiet determination to prove that honesty and patience held more power than greed and deception. His small but loyal circle of friends and customers returned daily, drawn by the warmth and sincerity that radiated from the store and from Liam himself. Meanwhile, across the street, Derek's arrogance and cruelty began to show cracks. He believed that the town's admiration for Liam was a fleeting sentiment, something that would fade once Liam's influence waned. But the opposite was happening. The townspeople were noticing the contrast: Liam, resilient and kind, versus Derek, whose wealth seemed hollow without respect or loyalty. One evening, as Liam closed his shop, he noticed Derek storming out of his own store, face red with frustration. Derek had made a series of careless decisions, trying to expand his business even further, but it backfired. One shipment of goods had been defective, another contract fell through, and rumors of unethical dealings began surfacing. Liam observed quietly, but he did not celebrate. He knew the timing was crucial, patience was his ally. In the months since losing his bookstore, Liam had also been gathering information not through malice, but through keen observation and careful record-keeping. Derek, arrogant and careless, left traces of his misconduct everywhere: overbilling suppliers, underpaying workers, and cutting corners to maximize profit. Liam documented it all meticulously, ensuring he had undeniable proof. Then came the night of the first strike. Instead of confronting Derek directly, Liam chose to act through the town's trade council, a governing body responsible for maintaining fair business practices. He anonymously submitted a detailed report exposing Derek's illegal trades and unethical business methods. Within days, Derek's empire began to crumble, not through brute force or anger, but through the slow, steady weight of truth. The council launched an investigation. Derek, confident in his wealth and connections, initially laughed it off. "This is a small inconvenience," he scoffed to his assistant. "Nothing can touch me." But as evidence accumulated, even his allies began to distance themselves. Vendors refused to deal with him, partners withdrew contracts, and whispers of corruption spread across Willow Creek like wildfire. Liam watched it unfold from the corner of his bookstore, sipping tea with Biscuit curled beside him. He felt a strange mix of satisfaction and humility. He had not taken revenge out of hatred. Instead, he had wielded justice with patience, precision, and integrity. This was not the destruction of a man, it was the natural consequence of his own actions catching up to him. But Derek was not easily defeated. Pride, the one trait that had carried him to wealth, now blinded him to reality. He began plotting subtle retaliation, sending spies into Liam's shop, spreading small rumors about shady deals and poor-quality books. Liam, however, was always one step ahead. The community had already learned his true character, their trust in him was unshakable. Every attempt Derek made to tarnish Liam's reputation only highlighted his own dishonesty and insecurity. One afternoon, Derek confronted Liam outside the bookstore, trying to intimidate him with his booming voice and grand gestures. "You think you're clever, don't you, boy?" he growled. "Do you know what happens to those who defy me?" Liam met Derek's glare calmly, a gentle smile playing at the corner of his lips. "I've learned that truth has a way of revealing itself," he replied evenly. "And patience is far stronger than rage." Derek's anger flared, but he realized he could not provoke Liam. He stormed off, leaving a trail of frustrated whispers behind him. The townspeople, who had gathered to watch, exchanged knowing glances. Derek had tried to bully the humble bookseller, but the tables had turned. The once intimidating merchant now appeared small and desperate, a man undone by his own greed. Liam's quiet strategy began to yield more results. Derek's employees started coming to Liam for guidance, impressed by his intelligence and fairness. Slowly, the network Derek had built to manipulate and dominate the town began dissolving, replaced by trust in Liam and his ethical approach to business. Derek, who had always believed wealth equaled power, was forced to confront a humbling truth: respect and loyalty cannot be bought, they are earned. That night, as Liam closed his shop, he reflected on the events of the past weeks. He realized that his revenge was not measured in destruction but in restoration. Derek had been given a chance to rise through cunning, but he had chosen deceit. Liam had chosen patience, allowing natural consequences to play out. And in doing so, he had restored not just his own dignity, but the town's faith in fairness and justice. Biscuit wagged his tail as if sensing Liam's thoughts. The small puppy had been a constant reminder of kindness, loyalty, and the strength that comes from compassion. Liam reached down and stroked Biscuit's head. "This is only the beginning," he whispered. "One day, Derek will see that no amount of cunning can outmatch integrity. Tit for tat doesn't always mean harm, it can mean justice, patience, and wisdom." As the moon rose over Willow Creek, casting a silvery glow on the cobblestone streets, Liam's heart was calm. He understood something profound: revenge, when guided by wisdom and restraint, does not corrupt, it clarifies. He had delivered the first strike, not with violence or hatred, but with intelligence and moral strength. Derek's downfall was beginning, and the story of justice in Willow Creek was unfolding like the pages of one of Liam's treasured books. Liam knew that the next chapters would test him further, but he was ready. He had learned the power of patience, the importance of observation, and the quiet strength of moral courage. And in the heart of the town, where whispers of betrayal and integrity mingled, Liam's story was becoming more than a tale of one man versus another. It was a lesson for all who would watch, wait, and act with wisdom. Winter had settled over Willow Creek, coating the town in a crisp, quiet beauty. The streets, usually bustling with activity, were now filled with the soft crunch of snow beneath footsteps. Liam's bookstore glowed warmly in the evening, a beacon of calm and integrity amidst the storm. The months since Derek's first downfall had been a test of patience, intelligence, and resilience. Liam had quietly rebuilt not just his shop but also his reputation, gaining the trust and admiration of the townspeople. Derek, on the other hand, had grown desperate. His wealth was dwindling, his influence shattered, and his pride bruised. Yet he refused to admit defeat. If anything, his arrogance had intensified. "I will not be humiliated by a simple bookseller," he muttered bitterly, pacing the floor of his once grand store. He concocted a final plan, a subtle strike meant to ruin Liam once and for all. One cold morning, Derek began spreading false rumors about Liam's bookstore. He whispered to merchants and customers alike that Liam's books were outdated, that his stock was damaged, and that anyone dealing with him risked loss. Derek even went so far as to plant a few minor faults in Liam's shipments, small enough to blame the supplier but enough to spark doubt among cautious buyers. But Derek had underestimated something crucial: the bond Liam had formed with his community. The townspeople, who had witnessed Derek's treachery and Liam's unwavering honesty, refused to be swayed. Instead of fleeing, they flocked to Liam's shop in greater numbers than ever. They knew that truth and integrity could not be overshadowed by lies, and their loyalty became Liam's shield. Even some of Derek's former allies began to shift. Vendors who had once feared his wrath now approached Liam for guidance, impressed by his fairness and the respect he commanded. Derek's name, once synonymous with power, began to carry whispers of deceit and failure. His desperate attempts to manipulate public opinion only highlighted his weakness, and the contrast between him and Liam became painfully obvious. One stormy evening, Derek could no longer contain his frustration. He stormed across the street, his face twisted with anger and disbelief, and barged into Liam's bookstore. "How are you still standing?" he demanded, his voice shaking. "I ruined you once, and yet you rise again." Liam looked up calmly from behind the counter, biscuit curled at his feet. His expression was serene, unshaken by Derek's fury. "I did not rise because I wanted revenge," Liam said quietly. "I rose because I stayed true to myself. You see, power built on deceit is fragile. Integrity built on patience is unbreakable." Derek's face turned red with rage, but he realized that no amount of shouting or intimidation could shake Liam's calm. The townspeople, many of whom had gathered outside upon hearing the commotion, watched silently. Derek's attempt at a public showdown only made him look desperate and small, while Liam's quiet dignity shone brighter than ever. The confrontation was a turning point, not just for Derek but for the town itself. It marked the final phase of Derek's decline and the solidification of Liam's influence. Derek realized, bitterly, that his previous schemes, his lies, manipulations, and betrayals had been his own undoing. The power he had wielded through fear and wealth crumbled in the face of truth and patience. In the following weeks, Derek's efforts to recover his standing proved futile. His reputation was permanently tarnished, and his attempts to regain trust only reminded the town of his deceit. Liam's bookstore, on the other hand, thrived. People came from neighboring towns, drawn not only by the books but by the story of patience, intelligence, and moral courage that Liam embodied. Despite the chaos Derek had caused, Liam never once stooped to anger or cruelty. He had acted strategically, with careful planning and a clear mind, ensuring that justice was served without unnecessary harm. The town learned an important lesson: true victory is not measured by how forcefully one strikes, but by how wisely one acts. One evening, as Liam closed his shop, he reflected on the months of struggle. He stroked Biscuit's fur, feeling a sense of quiet triumph. "We've done it, little one," he whispered. "Not by being cruel, not by seeking revenge, but by letting truth and patience guide us. Tit for tat doesn't always mean retaliation, it can mean justice and wisdom." In the distance, Derek's once loud voice had faded into the cold winter air, leaving behind the echo of his own failure. The town of Willow Creek had witnessed a rare transformation, a story of betrayal turned into a lesson of integrity, cunning replaced by wisdom, and malice overcome by moral strength. And so, Liam's journey reached its most pivotal moment. He had proven that resilience, strategy, and patience could outmatch greed, deceit, and anger. Derek's schemes, once thought unstoppable, had failed because they were built on arrogance and cruelty, while Liam's success was built on clarity, intelligence, and the respect of those around him. The town would remember this story for generations, a tale where cunning met integrity, where patience met pride, and where a humble bookseller taught a wealthy merchant the most important lesson of all: true power lies not in what you take, but in how you act. As Liam locked the bookstore for the night, the snow falling gently outside, he felt a deep sense of peace. He had played his part in the dance of tit for tat, not through hatred, but through cleverness, wisdom, and a steadfast heart. And in the silence of Willow Creek, the lesson was clear: justice need not be loud or violent, it can be quiet, precise, and inevitable. Spring arrived in Willow Creek, painting the town in vibrant colors. Cherry blossoms swayed in the gentle breeze, and sunlight danced across the cobblestone streets. Liam's bookstore, once a small, struggling shop, now flourished as a hub of knowledge, kindness, and inspiration. The townspeople visited not only to buy books but also to witness the man who had turned betrayal into wisdom, and cunning into justice. Derek, however, was a shadow of his former self. His once imposing figure now wandered the streets aimlessly, muttering complaints about lost opportunities and ruined reputations. No longer feared, he had become a cautionary tale. Wealth, he realized too late, could buy luxury, but it could never buy respect, loyalty, or the admiration that Liam had earned through patience and moral courage. Despite the chaos he had caused, Derek attempted one final act of revenge. He tried to spread rumors that Liam had manipulated the council to ruin him unfairly, hoping to tarnish the bookseller's reputation. But the town had learned the truth. The merchants, the customers, and even Derek's former associates now supported Liam openly, dismissing Derek's lies as desperate fabrications. Every attempt he made only highlighted his own dishonesty. One afternoon, Derek confronted Liam outside the bookstore, his voice trembling with both anger and desperation. "I've lost everything because of you," he shouted. "How did you turn my schemes against me?" Liam, calm and composed, looked him straight in the eyes. "I didn't destroy you, Derek," he replied. "You destroyed yourself with your greed and dishonesty. I simply allowed the truth to shine." Derek's shoulders slumped. For the first time in his life, he felt powerless. He realized that cunning and cruelty could never defeat patience, wisdom, and integrity. Liam's quiet perseverance had done what rage and malice never could. It had restored balance without destroying morality. The townspeople, who had gathered to witness the confrontation, cheered quietly for Liam. They understood the lesson unfolding before them: revenge does not require harm, but justice does require vigilance and moral courage. Derek's downfall had been inevitable, not because Liam sought to ruin him, but because Derek had chosen deception over honesty. In the days that followed, Derek left Willow Creek, his wealth diminished and his reputation tarnished, a man humbled by the consequences of his own actions. Liam's bookstore continued to thrive, and the story of his clever, patient response to betrayal spread throughout the town and neighboring villages. Parents told it to their children, merchants shared it as a lesson in fairness, and visitors came from afar to see the man who had mastered the art of tit for tat without cruelty. Liam, meanwhile, remained humble. He continued to care for Biscuit, who had grown into a loyal and spirited companion. Every evening, as he closed the bookstore, Liam reflected on the journey he had undertaken. "Tit for tat doesn't always mean retaliation," he whispered to Biscuit. "Sometimes it means waiting, observing, and letting justice unfold naturally." Through this experience, Liam learned something profound: revenge fueled by anger often destroys the seeker. But when guided by wisdom, patience, and moral integrity, a response to betrayal can illuminate truth, restore balance, and inspire others. His victory over Derek was not in crushing him, but in showing that honesty, cleverness, and patience can outmatch greed, pride, and cruelty. The townspeople noticed the change in the atmosphere of Willow Creek. Where fear and suspicion once lingered, now respect and trust thrived. The story of Liam's clever and moral response to betrayal became a beacon of hope and inspiration, a reminder that strength does not always lie in force or wealth but in character, intelligence, and the courage to do what is right. One evening, Liam stood by the window of his bookstore, looking at the setting sun. The sky was painted with hues of gold and pink, reflecting the harmony and peace that now filled Willow Creek. Biscuit nudged his hand, and Liam smiled. "We've done well, little one," he said. "We've shown that integrity is stronger than deceit, patience is stronger than anger, and wisdom is stronger than malice." The tale of Liam and Derek spread far beyond Willow Creek, becoming a story told in villages and towns across the region. It reminded people that life often places challenges in front of them, not to punish, but to teach. It reminded them that cleverness, patience, and moral courage can transform betrayal into justice and cruelty into lessons. Years later, when visitors asked about the small bookstore that had achieved so much in reputation and influence, the townspeople would smile and say, "It's not just books you find here, it's wisdom." The wisdom of a man who proved that true tit for tat is not revenge, but the art of letting integrity and patience guide you. And so, the story of Liam's triumph over Derek became a timeless lesson. A lesson that taught the value of cleverness over impulsive retaliation, patience over anger, and moral courage over malice. It showed that life's challenges could be met not with destruction, but with thoughtful action that preserves one's integrity while teaching those who seek to harm. Liam closed the bookstore for the night, the warm light spilling into the quiet streets. He reflected on the journey that had begun with betrayal and ended with justice and respect. He knew that life would continue to test him, but he was ready, armed with patience, wisdom, and the knowledge that integrity always prevails. And as the stars sparkled above Willow Creek, Liam whispered one final truth: true victory is not in hurting those who hurt you, but in rising above them. Revenge is hollow. Justice guided by wisdom lasts forever. Moral: true revenge isn't about hurting others, it's about rising above them. Patience, wisdom, and integrity turn betrayal into justice, and kindness becomes the strongest power of all.